Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss the regulation of blood glucose. I am Dr. Beena. This is the one important question coming in the regulation of blood glucose. What is the normal fasting and postprandial plasma glucose level? Explain the role of hormones in blood glucose regulation. Usually it is a 10-mark question used to come for the university. Now we'll see how we can uh, write the regulation of blood glucose. So first of all, you have to know what is the normal blood glucose level. Fasting blood glucose level is 70 to 110 milligram per deciliter, and the postprandial up to 140 milligrams per deciliter, maybe 90 to 140 milligram per deciliter. This blood glucose level is maintained in the physiological limits by the rate of glucose entrance to the blood circulation and the rate of its removal from the bloodstream. So by these two mechanisms, normal physiological level is maintained within the normal narrow limits of 70 to 110 in fasting and up to 140 milligram per deciliter in postprandial period. Now, what is normal glycemia or normoglycemia? That is, blood glucose level is within the normal limits. What is hyperglycemia? That is, values above the normal range. Hyperglycemia is always harmful. Then what is hypoglycemia? The value below the normal levels. Usually we will say when it is below 50 milligrams per deciliter, and it may be very fatal. Now we'll see what are the factors involved in the homeostasis or the regulation of blood glucose. The main factor is the hormones. Liver is mainly responsible for the regulation of blood glucose level by the uptake and the release of glucose, which is regulated by hormones. There are two types of hormones: insulin, which is a hypoglycemic hormone, and glucagon, epinephrine, glucocorticoids, growth hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormones, thyroxine are the hyperglycemic hormone. So insulin is hypoglycemic and all other hormones are the hyperglycemic hormones. So in this diagram you can see various factors contributing to hypoglycemia and the hyperglycemia. The hyperglycemic hormones are glucagon, adrenaline, glucocorticoids, growth hormones, HCTH and thyroxine, and there are various factors which will contribute blood sugar, and then there will be hyperglycemia. Now on the other side, there are hypoglycemic factors where the insulin is the hormone which produces hypoglycemia, as there are some other factors by which the glucose is removed from the blood and there is hypoglycemia. Now how the rate of glucose entrance into the blood is occurring. That is by absorption from the intestine. That is, from food we are absorbing glucose into the intestine, from the intestine, and then hepatic glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis, and the glucose obtained from other carbohydrates like fructose, galactose, etc. So these are the methods by which glucose entered into the blood. Absorption from intestine, hepatic glycogenolysis, that is breakdown of glycogen to glucose, and gluconeogenesis, that is synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources and also from other carbohydrates. Then what are the factors or how it is removed from the blood? That is depends upon the oxidation of glucose by the tissues to supply energy. That is, the process is called the glycolysis. Then the hepatic glycogenesis or glycogen synthesis, and also glycogen formation in the muscle, and conversion of glucose to fats and in adipose tissue, that is lipogenesis, and the synthesis and formation of fructose in the seminal fluid, lactose in mammary gland, synthesis of glycoproteins, and ribose sugars for the nucleic acid synthesis. These are the various methods by which glucose is removed from the blood. Now, blood glucose level in fasting. What do you mean by the fasting state? So also called as the post-absorptive state, that is approximately 12 to 14 hours after the meal. The only source of glucose in that condition is mainly liver glycogen. Then in the muscle also glycogen is stored. Then what about the muscle glycogen? It is not contributing to the blood glucose regulation because there is the enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase, which is needed for the release of glucose from the glycogen, is lacking in the muscle. Now, blood glucose level in the postprandial state is condition following the ingestion of food. That is, blood glucose usually elevated in the postprandial state. That the absorbed monosaccharides are utilized for the oxidation to provide energy, and the remaining in excess is stored as glycogen in the liver and the muscle, and 40% of the glucose absorbed is used for the lipogenesis, and the remaining is used for the synthesis of glycoproteins or the glycolipids. So these are the things happening in the postprandial state. That is, absorbed glucose are utilized for the energy, and the remaining is stored for as a glycogen in the liver as well as in the muscle, and the 40% of the absorbed will be converted to fat. Now, what is the response to low glucose? That is when the blood glucose is decreased. That is occurring in the fasting state. Decreased blood glucose stimulates the secretion of glucagon from the alpha cells of islets of the Langerhans of the pancreas. The glucagon released into the blood will stimulate the hepatic glycogenolysis and the gluconeogenesis, thereby increasing the blood glucose level. So whenever there is hypoglycemia, the glucagon is secreted from the alpha cells of pancreas, and which will stimulate the glycogenolysis and also stimulate gluconeogenesis, so that there is an increase in the blood glucose level. Once the blood glucose level rises to the normal levels, the stimulus for the release of glucagon will diminish. Now in this diagram, you can see when there is high blood glucose level, there is stimulation of beta cells and release of insulin, which stimulates the glucose uptake by the peripheral tissue. Then between meals, that occurs in between meals, and there is a low blood glucose level. So whenever there is low blood glucose level, the alpha cells releases glucagon and stimulate the glycogen breakdown, that glycogenolysis and the gluconeogenesis, so that more of glucose is entered to the blood, and then again there will be blood sugar elevation. Now, what are the response to elevated blood glucose that is occurring in the postprandial state? Postprandial means after the meal. So remember, there are two separate signal events taking place in the postprandial state. First signal is from the increased blood glucose to the pancreas. Whenever there is increased blood glucose, pancreas is stimulated and the insulin secretion occurs into the bloodstream. The second signal is from the insulin to the target cells. The insulin signals to the muscles, adipose tissue and liver to permit glucose in and to utilize the glucose in the tissue. So in the second signal, insulin which is released into the blood will act on the target cells, and it will allow the glucose to enter into the cell and to utilize the glucose within the cell. So this effectively lowers the blood glucose level. That is how the insulin action occurs. Now in this diagram also, you can see whenever you are asked to write about the regulation, you have to draw one of these diagrams. Now this is an important diagram where you can see high blood glucose will stimulate the pancreas and releases insulin from the beta cells, and that will act on the various tissues, and finally the blood glucose is maintained within the normal limits. So the insulin secretion stops. So whenever there is low blood glucose that is occurring in fasting, this pancreas is stimulated, alpha cells secretes glucagon, and then it acts on the liver mainly and produces glycogenolysis, and gluconeogenesis occurs, and the blood sugar is maintained, and the stimulus for secretion stops. So this again is the same type of diagram where you can see high blood glucose which is there will be acting on the beta cells, produces insulin, acting on the peripheral tissue as well as in the liver, and then blood glucose level is declining, and then after when it is lowered, it again going to the secrete the glucagon. Glucagon act on the liver, glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis occurs, and the blood sugar is maintained to the normal level. Now, how the entry of glucose occurring into the cell? Insulin dependent GLUT4 is not the only pathway by which the glucose enters the cell. Insulin dependent GLUT4 mediated cellular uptake of glucose into the muscle and adipose tissue occurs in only 40%, and insulin independent glucose dispersal that is occurring about 60%, that is GLUT1 to 3x, GLUT1 to 3, that is occurring in the brain, placenta, kidney, etc. Then sodium glucose transporter 1 and 2, that is occurring in the intestinal epithelium and kidney, also absorbs glucose from to the intestine from the epithelium and also from the kidney. Now we'll see the proper hormonal regulation of the blood glucose. There are two categories of endocrine influences, that is hormone which will decrease the blood glucose level, insulin, that is hypoglycemic hormone, and the hormone which increases the blood glucose level, glucagon, epinephrine, cortisol, thyroid, ACTH, etc. Now what is the action of insulin on carbohydrate metabolism? It decreases the blood glucose by increasing the rate of utilization of glucose by the tissue. That is, by facilitates the transport of glucose into the muscle and adipose tissue by GLUT4 transporter, and it also activates the oxidation of glucose for energy production, that is glycolysis, by activating the key enzymes glucokinase or hexokinase, phosphofructokinase and pyruvate kinase. And it also facilitates glycogen synthesis, glycogenesis, by the activation of glycogen synthase enzyme. So by these three mechanisms, there will be decreasing the blood glucose level, that is utilization and it uptake through the glucose transporters, and then oxidation by glycolysis by stimulating the key enzymes, and also glycogen synthesis by the activation of glycogen synthase enzyme. Then it also decreases the breakdown and release of the glucose from the glycogen by the liver by inhibition of glycogen phosphorylase. You know, glycogenolysis is mainly regulated by glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. So it will decrease the breakdown by inhibition of this enzyme. Then also diminishes the gluconeogenesis by inhibiting the key enzymes pyruvate carboxylase, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, and the glucose 6 phosphatase. Now what is the action of insulin on lipid metabolism? It increases lipogenesis by the activation of acetyl-CoA carboxylase, and also in adipose tissue glucose is converted to glycerol 3-phosphate, which is converted to triacylglycerol and stored there. The action on the protein metabolism is it increases the protein synthesis and decreases the protein catabolism. So it decreases the blood glucose level also. Now how the insulin secretion is regulated in our body. So it's like a feedback mechanism. Whenever there is an increased blood glucose level, it will stimulate the secretion of insulin, and there will be increased level of insulin. This insulin will increase the transport of glucose into the cell and increase glycolysis within the cell, and also increases glycogenesis, that is glycogen synthesis. And it will inhibit the gluconeogenesis as well as the glycogenolysis, so that there will be a decrease in the blood glucose level. So whenever there is decrease in the blood glucose level, the secretion of insulin also stops. Now the counter-regulatory hormones. The early response hormones are glucagon and epinephrine, and the delayed response hormones are cortisol, ACTH, growth hormones, and thyroxine. Now what's the role of glucagon in the blood glucose regulation? Its metabolic effects are increasing the hepatic glycogenolysis by the activation of glycogen phosphorylase enzyme, and it also increases gluconeogenesis from amino acids and lactate by inducing the key enzymes of gluconeogenesis pyruvate carboxylase, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, and glucose 6 phosphatase. It also increases amino acid transport and increases fatty acid metabolism, that is, it may produce ketogenesis. Now in this slide you can see the various actions of insulin and glucagon. Insulin lowers the blood glucose level, glucagon increases the blood glucose level. Insulin, by favoring the glycogen synthesis, promote glycolysis and inhibit gluconeogenesis, and glucagon by promoting glycogenolysis, enhancing the gluconeogenesis, depress the glycogen synthesis and inhibit glycolysis. What is the role of epinephrine? Stimulation of sympathetic neurons causes release of epinephrine from the adrenal medulla. It causes glycogen breakdown in liver by stimulating the glycogen phosphorylase by cyclic AMP mechanism. In muscles, due to the absence of glucose 6 phosphatase, it results in formation of only lactate. It doesn't produces glucose. Gluconeogenesis is stimulated and the glucose is released into the blood by the epinephrine hormones. Then lipolysis occurs in the adipose tissue. Cortisol is a steroid hormone synthesized in the adrenal cortex. It's a glucocorticoids act by stimulating gluconeogenesis, and it also produces protein catabolism, provides glucogenic amino acids for the gluconeogenesis. It inhibits utilization of glucose by extrahepatic tissues, antagonizes the action of insulin. So again it is a hyperglycemic hormone. Now another hyperglycemic hormone is the growth hormone. The source is anterior pituitary somatotrophs, and it decreases the glucose uptake in the muscle and so increases the glucose level in the blood. ACTH again decreases the glucose utilization by the tissues, so increases the blood glucose level. Thyroxine, the hormone from thyroid gland, increases the absorption of glucose from the intestine and accelerates the hepatic glycogenolysis and increases glucose level in the blood. So in this slide you can see the effects of hormones like cortisol, epinephrine and growth hormone. All three are hyperglycemic hormone which will increase the blood glucose level. Cortisol increases gluconeogenesis and releases amino acid from the muscle. Then the epinephrine promotes glycogenolysis, increases gluconeogenesis and favors uptake of amino acids. And then the growth hormone decreases glycolysis and mobilizes free fatty acids from adipose tissue. Like this, various hormones helps in the regulation of blood glucose within the normal narrow limits of fasting 70 to 110 milligram per deciliter and the postprandial up to 140 milligram per deciliter. That's all about the regulation. Thank you.